Divorce recovery is different for men than it is for women. There are specific biological and societal influences that impact the way men experience divorce and the steps necessary for them to recover from it. If you're feeling like a broken man after divorce, and especially if therapy or coaching hasn't helped you get where you want to go, that's likely the reason. I'm Rachael Sloan. I'm a master NLP practitioner and a certified life coach. I'm also the creator of Better Beyond Divorce, which is a unique coaching program that is designed specifically around the unique needs of men moving on and recovering from divorce. In this video, I'm going to tackle the specific biological factors that influence the way men experience divorce and the steps they need to overcome it. Next week, I'll present some of the societal influences that can keep you feeling like a broken man after your divorce. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video because I'm also going to share 3 specific things that men need to know about divorce recovery. If you're enjoying these videos, I'd love to invite you to join as a supporting member of this channel. You can support me directly in continuing to make these videos, and you'll also get early access to my upcoming videos as well as some other perks. All right, so let's tackle biology. We're going to actually give a little societal background before we dig into the biology. So we have these myths in our society about men, right? And these myths about men jumping from woman to woman, not really caring, easily picking up new girlfriends. We have these societal stories that women are more committed to the family and to the children than men are. But that's not what I see every day in my coaching practice. What I see are men who are deeply attached to their families and deeply committed to their children. I see men who are willing to sacrifice their own happiness, to deny themselves their own needs in order to give their kids the best chance they have at living their best possible life. And I think a lot of that comes from biology, that drive to fight for your family, to protect your family. Right? For much of human history, men did have to fight. They had to fight predators, they had to fight the elements, they had to fight other people to protect their family and to protect their children. But wait, right? If you are a bit of a biology nerd like me and you geek out on evolution, you're probably saying, but it's in a man's best genetic interest to reproduce with as many women as possible, right? To have as many potential offspring as he can out there in the world. And that's actually the biological argument that's often given to explain men's sexual habits, this like jumping from woman to woman to woman. I actually have a different theory. I think that it's not in men's best interest genetically to just reproduce willy-nilly without a care in the world for the women that he's sleeping with. I think that for a couple reasons. One is women are really vulnerable during pregnancy, and children are really vulnerable for years after they're born. It is not likely that a lone pregnant woman is going to survive herself, much less raise her children to reproductive age. Right? For much of human history, this was the case. The other reason I don't think it's in a man's genetic best interest to just reproduce willy-nilly is there's not that many women out there, right? There's more or less 50-50 men and women. So if every man is out there trying to sleep with every woman and reproduce with her, well, a lot of men aren't going to get any women at all and aren't going to reproduce at all. Plus, there's going to be a lot of fighting involved, which also limits your own ability to survive. So given that backstory, here is my theory. From an evolutionary biology perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense that a man would form strong partner bonds with one woman and be willing to fight, perhaps even to the death, to protect her children. Now, if I'm being true to biology and what I know of evolution, I would also say that it would be in a man's best interest to have casual sex if the opportunity presented itself. Evolutionary biology does not have morals, right? It doesn't ascribe to our cultural norms. It is about passing on genetic material. It's my theory that it may have been in a man's best interest, genetically speaking, to have a strong partnership relationship with one woman and be deeply committed to her and her children, while also having occasional flings whenever the opportunity presented itself. Now, a lot of people are not going to like me saying this, because it does not fit our cultural story, our Western narrative around monogamy and committed relationships. But I'm kind of okay with that because it's my opinion that if we In general, we're more open, more honest with ourselves about our biology if we were able to talk candidly about the fears and the desires that are rooted in evolution and physiology. I think we would be a much healthier, happier society. I think we would see a lot less crime and a lot fewer mental health issues. But because it doesn't agree with our moral structure and our cultural norms, we tend to deny our own biology and insist that others deny theirs as well. It all boils down to the fact that I think many, if not most men, feel powerfully attached to their families. In fact, I think many men are more powerfully attached to their families than women are, even if they are having extramarital sex or flings with other women. And yes, I just said more attached than women, and that actually makes a lot of sense from an evolutionary biology perspective as well. If a woman and her offspring get value, if they are more likely to survive and those children more likely to grow up and have their own children when they have the protection and support of a strong male partner, then it makes sense that a woman should be able to easily form new partner bonds when she feels vulnerable or alone. That would actually be a valuable adaptation for that woman from a genetic perspective. If we follow my evolutionary biology theories to their logical conclusion, what we see is that men are going to have a much harder time letting go of their family than women do. In particular, they're going to have a harder time letting go of their female partner than the woman is going to have letting go of the man. But remember how I said we don't really like to talk about this stuff because it doesn't fit well with our cultural narratives and our stories about what marriage is supposed to be like? Because we don't talk about these things, most therapists and most coaches don't take them into account. And it definitely isn't something that your friends and family are taking into consideration when they're telling you to just get over it or just move on. In just a moment, I'm going to explain how divorce recovery can actually work with these evolutionary drives instead of totally against them. But first, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered so far. First, many men are more strongly attached to their specific family unit than women are. This attachment is rooted in evolutionary biology, and that same evolutionary biology also suggests that it's perfectly normal for a man to be willing to sacrifice everything for his family while still feeling attracted to other women. Modern Western society is in general not interested in discussing these ideas. And most traditional therapy or coaching doesn't take any of this into account. So what does this mean for you and your recovery from divorce? There's actually two really valuable things that you can stand to gain just by being aware that these evolutionary drives are operating within you. First, it can be a really good way to start to let go of shame, right? That it's normal. The way you feel, there's not something wrong with you. It's normal to still feel deeply committed to your family, even after the divorce. It's normal to still feel like you love your ex-wife and be attracted to other women. There's nothing wrong with you. And it certainly doesn't mean anything about your value as a human being. And second, becoming aware of these default habits, right? That's all this is. These evolutionary drives are default habits of reacting. It's default habits of thinking and feeling in certain situations. When you become aware that that's going on, you get to become intentional about it. Do you want to keep this default? Or do you want to change the way that you respond? Do you want to change the way that you think and feel about family, about marriage, about women, about your future, about yourself? You didn't pick your default thoughts and feelings on these topics. They're rooted in biology. They're also fed by societal messaging, which we'll talk about more in next week's video. The bottom line is you didn't pick them. You didn't choose them. Right? They're not your fault, so there's nothing to be ashamed of. Some of this unexamined default attachment that men feel to their family really fuels a lot of common beliefs amongst men after divorce. Beliefs like children of divorce will struggle later in life. Beliefs like divorced couples can't co-parent successfully, or second marriages are going to fail even more likely than the first marriage. Right? And sure, there are statistics to back up a lot of these statements. I know you guys share them with me quite a lot. Yet isn't it possible that it's not actually divorce itself that is fueling these statistics? Isn't it just as likely that it's these unexamined default beliefs? When you view your divorce as a failure of your marriage, maybe even as a failure of yourself as a man, as a husband, as a father, right? When you're living out these evolutionary biology thoughts and fully buying in and believing them, you don't feel good, right? Those storylines in your head, those beliefs create despair, depression, shame, guilt, anger, all kinds of emotions that make it really hard to show up as a good parent or as a good co-parent or to be honest and open and available to another relationship. I would suggest that the reason so many children struggle during divorce, the reason that so many divorced couples struggle to co-parent and that second marriages fail is not because of the divorce itself, but it's because of the way one or both partners is viewing and reacting to that divorce. Awareness is the key to change. When you know that these thoughts exist in yourself and when you can watch them, you can start to loosen your belief in them. You can start to choose different ways, different perspectives, and you can experience your divorce in a healthier, happier way that allows you to show up as a parent, as a co-parent, and as a partner in future relationships. If you would like my personalized support in working through this and having a healthier, happier life after divorce, go ahead and book a consultation call with me, and let's see if we're a good fit to work together within my coaching program, Better Beyond Divorce.